Hey, folks. We're deep into winter now, which means that it's officially cozy in night season. Perfect for a great bottle of wine. And if you're going to a friend's house, you bring a bottle or two with you. Great wine, of course, is even better shared. But how do you pick out what kind of wine you want? Do you need to be a sommelier? I used to go into wine stores and freeze, partly because of the pressure I felt because my sister used to work for a wine manufacturer in Italy, and it would be a disaster. I don't deal with that anymore, and why? Because Naked Wines has come to my rescue. Naked Wines has the best bottles for a cozy night in. This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines. Naked Wines is a wine club that directly connects you to the world's best independent winemakers so you can get world-class wine delivered straight to your door. Use our code MAJORITY for the code and the password at nakedwines.com and get $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. I can't do the math totally off the top of my head, but that's like less than $7 a bottle. And the wine is great. They have a tremendous variety. And the key to this, which my sister has explained to me, is that markups on wine are huge. There's multiple middle people between a wine producer and you. And Naked Wines has basically just eliminated all of that. They bring you amazing wine straight from the winery at up to 60% less than you would pay in a store. And the way they do that is by getting rid of those middleman markups, getting rid of all the sort of like marketing expenses and the wine reps, et cetera, et cetera. Winemakers can pass the savings on to you without skimping on quality. I found a great Petit Syrah. Yes.
Love a Syrah.
I like my red wines like a little bit spicy, but they also have like the big juicy wines from California. They've got obviously a whole array of whites. Naked Wines has been around for over 15 years. They back over 90 independent winemakers around the world to bring you wine that you will love to drink. Get the best wine at the best price with Naked Wines. Now is the time to join Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/majority. Click enter voucher. Put in our code majority for both the code and the password for $100 off your first order. That's 6 bottles for only $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off your first 6 bottles at nakedwines.com/majority. Use the code and password majority for 6 bottles of wine for $39.99. Believe me, during the holidays, that came in big help, and including actually Thanksgiving. Now that I think about it, we'll put that in the podcast and YouTube description. In the meantime, now for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Adam Federman, reporting fellow with Type Investigations, recipient of the 2020 Fetisov Award for environmental reporting on the fight for Greenland. Meanwhile, then we'll be talking, I should say, Representative Aisha Gomez, representing District 62A in the Minnesota House of Representatives, on the invasion that's taking place in Minnesota. Also on the program today, Trump at Davos rules out a military attack on Greenland, but damage done as we enter a new world order. Treasury sell-off over the Greenland controversy pushes mortgage rates back up to where they were before rate cuts. House tees up a vote on a funding package, including DHS funding. Meanwhile, Chuck Schumer AWOL. Senate doesn't come back until Monday. Lindsay Halligan out as U.S. attorney as her prosecutorial career comes to a very, very brief end. Supreme Court oral arguments as to Trump's attempt to fire federal Governor Lisa Cook. Supreme Court also oral arguments skeptical of Hawaii's handgun limits because, of course, Trump's DOJ subpoenas Minnesota state officials as part of the ICE invasion there. Elon Musk, remember him? His Doge team gave Social Security data to Republican Stop the Steal activist group so they can try and disenfranchise voters this time around. And U.S. seizes its 7th Venezuelan-linked tanker in a bid, I guess, just to enrich Donald Trump or somebody in Qatar. All this and more on today's Majority Report. It is
Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Yes,
You were
it
worried I
is.
wasn't going to make it back to the...
I was worried. You really know how to...
I know the timing.
For the podcast listening audience, Sam finished the ad, sprinted out of his chair because he realized he did not have his beverage with him,
Yep,
and
my
made it
liquid
back
IV.
just in time.
Yep.
Can't get the DTs live on air.
Call... Well, it was all that talk about wine at the beginning of the show, and so...
So you got your bottle of vodka that you drink every day.
Exactly. I mean, frankly, I don't feel inside. I don't feel that too far off from that.
Soon enough, well, our Fridays are going to get really casual.
Exactly.
We'll just
And they're going to start somewhere around like Tuesday.
Thirsty Thursday.
yeah. The fun half will just be us face down on the desk.
So Donald Trump was in Davos last night. There was I want to say a scare, but that's not really.
Right.
I mean, it's not, I wasn't scared. Well,
I texted you last night. The plane turned around.
And excitement.
so
Thinking maybe.
Air Force One turned around about 200 miles off the coast of the U.S. I thought oh, okay, we're going to invade Iran. We're going to attack Iran, which that may not come for another couple of days. Emma apparently thought that it signified that there was some medical problem with
A
Trump.
succession scenario.
Truly what I was thinking of, yeah.
My sense is they would just drop him out the plane and just keep going to Europe. But
that would constitute an environmental hazard, given the
that's
amount of
true.
chemicals on and inside of him.
That's true. Nevertheless, Donald Trump is in Davos now. He has just given a speech. We will probably play some of that speech or some of the completely bat-crap crazy stuff from his press conference yesterday. He has apparently said in Davos, taken military assault on Greenland off the table, which is
Nice.
is good.
Don't
that's
you believe in
good.
compromise?
I mean, honestly, if you had asked me 3 hours ago, I would have bet we're going to send 1,500 troops in there and we're going to take it over the course of the next couple of weeks. I don't think that anybody's going to accept an offer to buy Greenland or to sell Greenland, but I guess it remains to be seen. But of all the things happening at Davos, there was a couple of speeches that are really, really important. And only because I think this, it's very difficult to project into the future and see how history is going to look at this era. But there are two speeches. One was by Ursula von der Leyen. She's the president of the EU. But she sort of reiterated at least some of what Canada's Mark Carney said. And there's a lot of politics of Mark Carney's that I'm not necessarily a fan of. But I think historians are going to look back at this speech as the marker, not necessarily of the beginning of the end, but perhaps the middle of the end or near the end of the end.
The acknowledgement of the end.
Yes, of what I think both Carney and van der Leyen said was a rupture. But what we're seeing is the end, the genuine end of the post-World War II world order.
Right.
There was some talk of it ending when the Soviet Union collapsed. And in some respects, the opportunity was missed by really all parties involved to change the world order. We had the Project for a New American Century, Dick Cheney and other neocons in the early 90s, right around the time of the fall of the Soviet Union, were basically plotting it out that the U.S. would be a hegemonic hyperpower and oversee tiny conflicts that existed in regional areas that would keep everybody busy from sort of like organizing against the United States. And we would have hegemonic power over the world, largely economically. And to some extent, that's the way it was through the 90s. And Iraq probably was, and I'm sure some would argue also just sort of like globalization in general was certainly inevitable in terms of undermining U.S. hegemony. But Iraq certainly showed that we were a bit of a paper tiger. And who knows if, things could have gone in a different direction. But I do think that yesterday, this speech is going to be pointed to because it's convenient. And it's also the first time we've heard really one of our allies be so explicit.
And acknowledging the hollowness of the rules-based international order. I mean, we'll analyze this after we hear from Carney, but of course, this story cannot be told without the genocide in Gaza.
Indeed. But that's all part of the story. But I think the major, the breaking point is sort of what he admits here, which is we all believe the lies.
Yep.
Because it benefited us.
We're in the protection racket, but we're realizing that we might be on the side of we're now going to experience blowback from this, and the Americans have become essentially the baddies, the bullies of the world. That's right. And we're on that side. That's what this recognition is.
I think he's realizing that. Or we just got cut loose. I mean, they made this deal with China. I don't think it's a coincidence that he made this deal with China a couple of weeks ago. And here's a portion of that speech.
For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that,
we're going to play a different version here. Go back to something.
All right, it was getting a little crispy. Yeah. This speech, I think, in total was only about 15, 16 minutes, so it's probably worth you checking out the entire thing. But this clip, do we have it? Okay.
For decades, countries like Canada prospered under what we called the rules-based international order. We joined its institutions, we praised its principles, we benefited from its predictability. And because of that, we could pursue values-based foreign policies under its protection. We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination.
Wow.
Now, when he says great powers, he could be talking about China, but I think we all know the great power that he had been dealing with, he being Canada, obviously he's not Canada, is the U.S. And the crises, Iraq, the financial crisis, the failure in many respects of the United States to take the lead in terms of the pandemic. These are the things that he's responding to, and he's basically just saying, like, it doesn't work anymore. It's broke.
I mean,
I just say, like, it's interesting, as you know, we've been producing the show, for them to admit that the things we were saying about the order, or like Noam Chomsky, there was a piece in Foreign Policy Mag that said Noam Chomsky was right. That was true and accurate, and they were just saying that we were wrong because it was convenient for, I guess, what they considered civilization to say that we were wrong about it.
Carney acknowledges that they basically absorbed the contradictions of the rules-based international order because that was the choice as like a mid-sized nation under the umbrella of the United States. And what he's making a plea for Europe to do is to cut ties in the way that he's basically doing, or to develop a new economic, gosh, there's the loudest sirens outside, sorry guys, but to develop relationships that are reflective of this new international world order that is going to be multipolar. There's no question about it. I mean, even the isolationist policies of the Trump administration, or the desire to return to the Western Hemisphere as a part of our sphere of colonialism and influence, is a recognition of that from Trump as well.
Yeah, I think so. But I think from the perspective of superpowers, that's what the difference is he's basically saying, like, we agreed, we bought into the lie because it worked for us. Right. And from a pragmatic perspective, I mean, you know, he's not taking a moral position here at all. He's just basically saying, it's a pragmatic exercise. It doesn't work anymore. Right. And so it was a marriage of convenience, and one which we would sort of pretend that we loved each other. And but you know what? It's not convenient anymore, and so now we don't have to pretend.
A little out of control.
Yeah, exactly. and also, I mean, you see when there's no alternative to capitalism as well. Like, that is, it's not just the United States being uniquely evil or imperial. Of course, as like the global hegemon for my entire life, that's the center of our critique. But when, you know, the talk about the end of history and the fact that at the fall of the Soviet Union, there was like this belief that capitalism will reign and supreme for the rest of time, and the United States was at the forefront of that. Like, we are seeing that rapacious economic system is coming back to bite us in the form of a genocide, in the form of weaponizing the United States' economic might in sanctions regimes, with tariffs, what have you, to wreak havoc upon these other countries. You need to have a broader balance of power, both economically and with nation states throughout the globe, unfortunately, because The United States as a hegemon has shown we are incapable of being the world police without, doing things like genocide. And yeah, I mean, like, so it's coming back to bite Europe here. They were complicit in the genocide in Gaza, but Carney's even recognizing here, like, we have held on to these contradictions for too long, and that's the implicit kind of, I think, story beneath it all.
And we'll talk more about this as the week goes on, but, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, both from the perspective of the world and certainly in the context of the United States, which is not to say that it can't go sideways, because we still have the largest military by exponentially the rest of the world. And we have a fascist in the White House and a fascist regime. So, things might work out in 10, 15, 20 years. But the idea of,
it's going to be unstable for that time.
We wanted to be able to put the terms on how we were going to end these marriages to the extent that we were going to. And when you don't, and you have a big military, and you have a fascist regime in power, there's some precedent for that kind of thing. But we will be talking more about this, obviously, later in the program and over the course of, maybe the next couple of days and maybe the next couple of years. First, a couple of words from our sponsor, and then we'll be talking to Adam Federman, reporting fellow with Type Investigations. Life, as you know, can feel like a big puzzle. You're constantly trying to fit all the pieces together, your career, your passions, your relationships, your finances, and of course, your health. It's a lot, but finding healthcare shouldn't be the trickiest part of it. ZocDoc makes it easy to find and book an appointment with a doctor that you're going to love. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Doesn't matter whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, psychiatrist, one of the 200 specialties offered by ZocDoc. You can easily search by specialty or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. You want to see your doctor in person? Great. You want to see him over some type of Zoom type of device? You can do that too. Appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within 24, 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I've talked about I found a dentist, an emergency dentist on the road. Couldn't have gone easier. Both Emma and Matt have found doctors through this. And my daughter's actually looking for a doctor right now. She's at school.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she didn't like the doctor she's with. And I'm like, here you go. Use the coupon code. I want to thank ZocDoc for sponsoring today's episode. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/majority to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. What's also really easy, you can actually book it. The calendar comes right up. And so you don't have to go back and forth with the office. That's ZocDoc.com/majority. ZocDoc.com/majority. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. We'll put the information in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Also, sponsoring the program today, Shopify. When I started this show, had to figure out a lot of stuff all on my own. There was a lot on my plate. Now, of course, we have a great crew and co-host and producers. But in the beginning, it was really just, it was more or less Dorsey and I, and we were both just looking at each other like, what do we do? The last thing I was going to do was set up a merch store. It just seemed like such a headache. But we were able to do it. And how? We found the right tool that not only helps us out, but simplifies everything. And that can be such a game changer for millions of businesses. That tool is Shopify. Like I say, we have finally caved in and opened up our merch store. and it was super easy. Shopify is completely turnkey. We come up with an idea, we put it up there. Whistles. We're selling whistles at cost. We sold out of all the whistles multiple times. We're getting whistles in without the logo to sell at cost just because we want to get them to people and out the door, and we can do it really quick and put it up on the site. Shopify integrates with our YouTube channel, Instagram, anywhere we are. If we're in IRL, if we sell stuff at a live show, it integrates with our all our back end. It just makes everything super easy. You can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into cash. With Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/majority. Go to shopify.com/majority, shopify.com/majority. All right, we'll put that in the podcast and YouTube description. Quick break. When we come back, Adam Federman. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. Pleasure to welcome back to the program Adam Federman, reporting fellow with Type Investigations, recipient of a 2020 Fetisov Award for your environmental reporting. And Adam, you were last on the program on November 30th, 2023, with Emma, talking about Greenland. And I had forgotten that this was something that Trump had been talking about back then, and was reminded only because Emma had done that interview with you. Today he announced no military action. I'm not sure if we should believe him or not, but what's going on here? Is it Ron Lauder? Is it? I mean, what?
It's hard to keep up with this story. I was honestly relieved to hear him say that he was going to rule out the use of military force. Although he also confused Greenland and Iceland repeatedly, which doesn't exactly inspire confidence in whatever the administration is thinking.
He's ruling out military force for Iceland, but it's still on the table for Greenland.
Or I was thinking maybe we could give him NATO could give him Iceland, and he'll be happy with that, and the Greenland issue will be settled. We'll see. But so Trump's thinking, or his approach to Greenland, has certainly taken on new life in this second term. I mean, in 2019, he floated the idea of buying Greenland, which was laughed at. The Danish prime minister called it absurd. No one really took it seriously. And it was essentially forgotten about. I mean, I did my story on Greenland and traveled there in 2023. So this is during the Biden administration. The United States was using all kinds of soft power tools to advance its interests in Greenland, including potentially investing in some mining operations and keeping China out. There was talk of expanding the U.S. military base in Patuxent. They renamed the base as a way of kind of acknowledging Inuit land claims to the region. So it seemed like the United States was essentially getting what it wanted. And when Trump came back into office, I would argue that the table was set in a way that it never has been for the United States to essentially capitalize on this relationship and Greenland's desire to become independent of Denmark. Now, in the last year, I think Trump has essentially destroyed those advantages. Greenland and Denmark have, if anything, gotten closer, and we're now in the middle of this completely unpredictable crisis.
I mean, and we're going to touch on this part later, but this seems, the fact that Trump was this serious about it seems to have basically, to the extent that there was any vestige of the EU or our allies saying like, you know, everybody has a bad day, you know, we'll give the United States a mulligan on the first term of Trump. And it was still up in the air on the second. But it really does feel like this has been the final sort of like blow, the nail in the coffin that has basically said like, we can't trust these people anymore.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to imagine how we dig ourselves out of this hole. I think even in December 2024, before Trump was inaugurated and he made his first remarks about wanting to acquire Greenland, and then you'll probably remember that shortly after that, he dispatched Don Jr. And Charlie Kirk and a couple of other folks to nuke, and they handed out, you know, $100 bills to people on the street, and they had lunch at some fancy restaurant with a bunch of locals wearing MAGA hats. And even after that, people were still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. They were like, this is crazy, you know, but maybe it's a little bit tongue in cheek. We don't really know how serious you are. And at that point, I mean, I think the jury was out. It was unclear what the administration's policy was going to be. He was talking about, you know, reclaiming the Panama Canal, making Canada the 51st state. It was like, where does this all fit in? What's serious? What is just complete BS? Obviously, he's just continued to double down on taking Greenland. And I think perhaps more notable is the fact that top advisors like Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance have also repeated Trump's claims, which I should just note, this idea that Russia and China have ships and are sort of circling Greenland and pose some imminent security threat is completely untrue. It's, in my opinion, it's like claiming Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. It is, the mainstream media has finally begun to push back and sort of debunk this claim that Trump, Vance, and others have made with zero intelligence to back it up. Danish, Greenlandic officials have rebutted this notion, but this is sort of their you know, drumbeat to war, or whatever you want to call it.
Can you just expand a little bit on, though, the geopolitical importance of Greenland? Part of what we spoke about back in 2023 about your piece was, you know, you kind of tracing this back to the 1950s and some of these kind of post-World War II agreements and how it was central in the Cold War. But like, you know, we know that they're lying about this as a pretext, but what's the motive behind the lie is the question.
Yeah, I mean, Greenland has always been strategically significant in the Arctic. I mean, during the Cold War, the threat of Soviet missiles coming over, you know, the pole to North America, that was sort of the shortest route. And so having the space base, as they now call it, the lone remaining U.S. military installation in Greenland is essentially a series of radars that are there to track missiles that may be coming from wherever, you know, Russia. And so Greenland has remained strategically important. Obviously, after the end of the Cold War, things changed and U.S. investment in Arctic security diminished. And Arctic nations, through a international governing body called the Arctic Council, were, you know, managing things quite well and sort of cooperating with one another. Those relations have deteriorated badly, especially in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And as we saw, not only with Trump during his first term, but then with Biden, you know, shoring up sort of U.S. assets and investment in Greenland has become increasingly important. And we've always worked closely with Denmark, oftentimes without including Greenland, to kind of get what we've wanted. And, you know, that history is something that I wrote about in that in these times story. And it's something that I think Americans are unfamiliar with, and it's certainly something that American leaders never really acknowledge.
Hey, do you have a favorite theory, though, as to why Trump has this, what seems to be now real legitimate? I mean, up until today, I thought we were going to send 1,500 troops and just be like, okay, now what are you going to do about it, Denmark? Nothing. You're not going to do anything about it, and we're just going to have it, and we'll send you a check. And apparently that's not going to happen, hopefully. But from a strategic standpoint, the U.S. had, like you said, already made sort of like we were on a trajectory to have only more closely aligned and more relationship with Greenland, more access to whatever we wanted in terms of like strategic necessities. That's been out the door. I'm agnostic on that personally, but that's the dynamic. What is it that he thinks he's doing? Is this part of a larger Donroe doctrine, or what?
I think that does fit into it, this idea of hemispheric defense. However, the hole in that general argument is essentially what you just pointed to, which is that we have an agreement with Denmark that goes back to 1951 that essentially gives us free rein to expand our military presence in Greenland. And Greenlandic leaders and Danish leaders have said the door is open. Not only are we open for business in terms of economic investment, but you can expand your military presence here, whether that's at the base that we already have or with installations on the East Coast to monitor Russian submarines, et cetera. So I keep coming back to this interview that Trump did with Susan Glasser and Peter Baker for their book that was published a few years ago, in which he basically said he saw Greenland as just a huge piece of real estate. It's big, it's there, he thinks he can have it. It's pretty basic. I mean, it's primitive, it's childish, and it's how Donald Trump operates. I don't know how much more complicated it is. I mean, there are many strategic reasons why Greenland is important in the Arctic, but the manner in which this administration is going about achieving those ends has the potential to undermine our security, Canadian security, North American security in the region. I mean, that's, I think, a simple fact.
But I mean, Trump's childishness, I think, in the way he's approaching this, it's a point well taken. But I am very interested in, like, and it seems like this is a theme across Trump and foreign policy. He has this impulse to be the big conqueror, to make his legacy in this way, but there are always people pushing him in a certain direction based on financial interests. So, you know, there was a piece in the Quincy Institute from last week kind of outlining, or there was a section of it talking a little bit about this guy, I can't read my own handwriting per usual, but it's one of the PayPal co-founders.
Yeah, probably Ken Howery, I would imagine.
Ken Howery, there you go. So Trump appointed this guy, Ken Howery, to be the ambassador to Denmark, which seems significant in this situation. We've talked to Gil Duran on the show before about the concept of the network state and how Peter Thiel and these other kind of tech billionaires envision the idea of creating a purely privatized state that they would control. Greenland having some of the resources that they want, it being a population of, you know, under 60,000, mostly indigenous people, they're probably thinking like easy pickings. I mean, what's your feeling about that theory?
I think there's some credence to it. I think the big sticking point with Greenland is that it's, 80% of it is covered in ice. Good luck setting up your utopian network state in a part of the world that is not very easy to live in. I do think, though, on a more serious note, that there is a fair bit of speculation and interest in, establishing data centers, for example, in Greenland because of the cold climate, and investing in some of the other resources that the country has. I think that, Howard, he was ambassador, I believe, to Sweden during Trump's first administration. I don't know how much power and influence he has. I was actually quite surprised to see his first sort of informal press conference in Copenhagen after he was confirmed, and a journalist asked him a very basic question about, what did he have to say to the people of Greenland, and he looked like a deer in the headlights, as if the question hadn't occurred to him, which I thought was somewhat bewildering. So I don't really know who's running point on Greenland in this administration. I think with Venezuela, for example, it was clear that Rubio's fingerprints were all over that operation, and kind of the ideological motivations behind removing Maduro, et cetera. But when it comes to Greenland, I mean, Rubio has been oddly silent, it seems to me, on this. I don't know who is in Trump's ear. Is it Stephen Miller?
The Guardian,
is it JD Vance? I don't know.
The Guardian reported, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that it was a function of Ron Lauder, the cosmetics guy who was a longtime friend of Trump back in the first term, said we should buy Greenland, and that was basically. Then he just got obsessed with it, and then I would imagine there's others who might say like, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, it seems like, I mean, this is so hard to sort of like wrap one's brain around that the president functions like literally like a poorly behaved 6-year-old, like literally. But it's quite conceivable that he just had this idea in his head. Everybody around him thought it was so far-fetched that they all just humored him. And it just is like a snowball, because nobody wants to go like, actually, boss, I wasn't really that serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ron Lauder put the worm in his ear probably. And then they did have a meeting with this guy named Greg Barnes, who's an Australian mining geologist. And he has advanced this rare earth metals mine in southern Greenland, which is now part owned by a US company called Critical Metals Corp. And actually Howard Lutnick's firm has a stake in that company. And there are some
down.
Yeah, there are some financial connections that have not gotten a lot of attention. Steve Feinberg at the Pentagon, number 2, is CEO and founder of a company called Cerberus. They may not have direct investments in Greenland, but they have done some mining projects in northern Canada and are interested in this sort of strategic nexus. And there are other sort of fringe figures with personal connections and or interest in sort of developing some of the strategic interests in Greenland. So I would imagine that they perhaps are having some influence on Trump as well.
So, and I imagine that Trump's announcement today was a direct function of like the Treasury market just sort of like just collapsing on some level. Interest rates had to shoot up because everybody was like, and I think again, Greenland is more sort of like the flag that denotes the sort of the decision point that the rest of the world has made of like, we're done, we're out now, regardless of what happens with Greenland. What do you think happens? I mean, this is an impossible question to ask you, but what do you think happens next? I mean, does he just sort of like, okay, they didn't want to buy it, they didn't want to sell it, and so I'm done. I'll move on to Iceland, or I don't know.
That's the question everyone's asking, and I don't think he moves on. There's no way he moves on. He has dug his heels in, and I think the hard part is next. I mean, they've talked about establishing this working group after the meeting with Vance, Rubio, and the Danish and Greenlandic representatives. Who will be on that group? And how do you bridge this gap between Trump wanting outright ownership and Greenland clearly refusing to go down that path? I'm not sure there is a middle ground, and if there isn't, what does Trump do if he's sort of backed into this corner?
I think the middle ground is let's form a working group, a committee, and just wait until Trump can't get his medication
and
anymore.
give him an award.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Adam Federman, a reporting fellow with Type Investigations, recipient of that 2020 Fetisov Award.
The Russian oligarchs.
There you go. We'll put a link to your piece in our YouTube and podcast description. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Representative Aisha Gomez, representing District 62A in the Minnesota House of Representatives from the occupied state of Minnesota in this country. We'll be right back. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. It is a pleasure to welcome to the program Representative Aisha Gomez. She is the representative for District 62A in the Minnesota House of Representatives. And Aisha, you were just telling us that this is you represent South Minneapolis.
Yeah, Sam and Emma, thanks so much for having me. So my district is kind of the heart of the south side of Minneapolis. We've been heavily impacted, of course, by the incursion of the armed secret ICE police in our community. My constituent, Nicole Good, was murdered by ICE agents a couple of weeks ago in my district. We also, again, right around the corner from George Floyd Square, where we were the epicenter of that kind of global event 5 years ago as well. So thanks for having me.
Of course.
Just give us a sense of what it's been like over the past, I guess it's now like 3 weeks, 3 weeks of this sort of invasion. I don't know what else really to call it. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are up now. It's at least 2,000 ICE troopers, as Bovino would call them, but at the very least, it's 2,000. Could be closer to 2,500 by now. Just give us a sense of like what the on the ground, like how aware of the presence are they there?
Yeah, so again, as you said, like there's so little transparency about this this incursion, this invasion by masked, unaccountable, heavily armed, kitted out sometimes in full military garb for a secret police force in our community. So we don't even know how many of them there are. What I can tell you is just that my community is just being impacted in numerous ways by what's going on the ground. Of course, we see scenes of brutality and violence playing out over and over again, day after day, many times a day. Right now, as we speak, Greg Bovino is in my district. He was spotted there. He has a convoy of 4, 5, 6 SUVs with 3 or 4 agents in each of them. You can be just like a regular person going about your life, trying to take your kids to school, trying to go to work or go get, a cup of coffee or something, or going to the grocery store. And you encounter scenes of just impossible to imagine kind of things unfolding on the streets. I was like, it was last week, time's a little tough, but it was last week. As you may know, Greg Bovino and his goons, after they murdered my constituent, they went to a high school and at dismissal time, Roosevelt High School, and they used chemical munitions on students, parents, and educators as school was dismissing. So school closed in Minnesota for the Thursday and Friday after they killed, or in Minneapolis, excuse me, after they killed Renee Good. And so then on Monday, the next week, schools were back in. And so many of us were just kind of being at schools because they have, unfortunately, along with hospitals and other places that we used to be able to view as sanctuary spaces in our community, as places that were safe for families and children to exist at, they have become a target of these forces. And so I'm there welcoming the kids to school, and I hear this huge commotion. I hear whistles and horns, and that is how our community are protecting ourselves, is just by gathering, making a crowd, making noise, bringing attention to what they want to have happen in the dark. And I go running over there, and they had arrested 4 immigrant people, including 2 children, and a disabled woman was trying to go to a doctor's appointment. They cut her seatbelt. They forced her door open. As I got there, they were carrying her by her 4 limbs. I don't know, like a carcass of an animal, like a dangerous prisoner who's going to physically attack the person who's trying to restrain them. She just told her story about being at Whipple, being denied, medical attention. And so this is happening. I saw them take another observer down and, kind of crush his face into the concrete, lift him again by his 4 limbs like an animal. They were using chemical munitions. I was maced. They used tear gas against us in a residential neighborhood. Okay. This is like, people just live here. And I got to tell you in the midst of all of this, in the midst of all this chaos, dozens of federal agents using chemical munitions on just like regular people, a munition that's banned by the Geneva Convention for Use in Warfare. And I see this man approaching from across the street, and he has a toddler in his arms. Like the kid must have been around 18 months to 2 years old. And I knew after he moved that he was going to his apartment across the street. But just this scene, right, of this completely terrified man with a completely terrified toddler in a residential neighborhood in an American city, rushing across the street with his jacket wrapped around his baby through clouds of tear gas being used by masked, unaccountable federal agents. I mean, this is what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis.
What, and I think we actually showed the video of both that woman and the man that you referred to. There's 2 sort of areas that I'm really interested in. And I think it would be helpful for people outside of Minnesota and Minneapolis, because this is not going to end there. One is sort of like best practices in terms of the community organizing, but I'm particularly interested in like, what is the state attempting to do or doing, or what do you think they should be doing that they're not doing in terms of like statutorily, in terms of committee hearings? I don't know. Like what is in play on a state level?
Yeah. So, I really especially appreciate your first question, Sam, because like it feels like Minneapolis is being used as a testing ground, both in the brutality of the tactics. And we have seen, since they killed Renee Good, we have seen such an acceleration in the brutality and illegality of the tactics that are used against observers, violating people's civil rights with just absolute impunity, using Renee Good as an example and a threat. Like there are numerous videos of ICE agents saying, didn't you see what happened? Didn't you see what we did? Haven't you learned your lesson?
Right.
The implication being this could be any of you, and it could have been any of us. But I mentioned to you earlier that Bovino and his shock troops went from the scene of the extrajudicial execution of Renee Good in the street to a high school to gas kids. And my constituents were also on that scene in the dozens. And dozens and hundreds of us left that scene, and we went out and we did exactly what Renee was doing and her wife were doing, exactly the thing that got her killed. And so at the same time that this moment in Minneapolis is a warning to the country, it's like it's a red alert for our democracy and for like the basic foundational aspirational ideas that founded this country. The idea that there's equal protection under the law, the idea of the Constitution. At the same time that that's what we're facing, we're also seeing what the response to authoritarianism on the march has to be. And that's like the first three words, we the people. That's us coming together in our communities and taking care of each other and doing so courageously and knowing that, like, you know, Renee Good's widow said, they had guns and we have whistles, right? We're coming together. We're coming together to respond every single time that ICE agents are on our streets. We want dozens and hundreds of people there making noise, alerting our neighbors as to their presence. And we need to take care of each other in these times. And that's actually what's true about us as humans. They want us to be looking at each other with suspicion. They want us to be in our houses. They want us to be terrified. But the communities in Minneapolis and across the state, this is not just happening in Minneapolis. It's a less told story, but this is happening in the suburbs and the exurbs and rural areas and everywhere in our state right now. This invasion is happening. And everywhere in our state, communities are organizing and they're coming together and they're making sure that kids get to school, food gets delivered to people's houses, and are showing an alternative vision of reality of that like destructive, nasty kind of vision of humanity that's being presented to us. Like, what is actually true about us as humans is that we exist in community and we have what we need to take care of each other. And so communities across the country, you can't wait until they come to your doorstep. Like, you have to start organizing now. So that's, yeah.
Representative Gomez, can you talk a little bit about when you're saying the communities coming together? Where are the local police in this? What have your constituents been saying about the local police response and their ability or lack thereof to protect them from ICE? What should people know if they're in Minneapolis or know people in the area about local police response?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of frustration, I would say, on my constituents are frustrated, right? Because what we're seeing is just massive violations of the law every day, all the time, from obviously these really, you know, I mean, one of them killed somebody in the street. They're using violence. They're destroying people's property. They're breaking windows. They're violently arresting people. They're rolling through red lights. They're driving 60 miles an hour down a side street. They're driving the wrong way on a one-way. I mean, they're just acting with complete reckless disregard for public safety. So to hear any national person say this is about public safety is like such a joke and a farce to those of us existing under this occupation. You know, and so I think that there is, you know, there's a lot of frustration. Also, we have 600 cops and there's 3,000 of these guys here.
Right.
We like, it is, I don't know what I would do if I were in charge of the cops right now, to be totally honest with you. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, like, there's no local law enforcement around the country that's arrested one of these guys. And I mean, somebody should probably do it at some point, but we don't know what's going to happen when that happens. And there is a very real sense here. I mean, you know, they subpoenaed our governor and our mayor and our attorney general and our county attorney. They have cut off federal funding to needy families in Minnesota as retaliation, right? So there's this real feeling that we're kind of like, we're balancing on a razor's edge. And, you know, and I think it is, unfortunately, you know, and you talked to me about or asked about state law and response. And, you know, like, I'm somebody who I've devoted my life to, using the tool of state policy to improve people's lives. I'm the chair of the tax committee. I love this stuff. I get deep in the nerdy details, right, of state level tax policy. And I believe it's a powerful tool to improve the material conditions for working people in this country. But the fact of the matter is that we have to be clear-eyed about the truth, which is that state and local policy are not the tool with which to respond to an authoritarian federal regime. Those tools are inadequate. I wish they weren't,
right?
Because I believe deeply in their power. But but honestly, like, that's why I'm at the Capitol right now. I haven't been here in a month, I think. I've been in my neighborhood. I've been with my neighbors in the streets because I know that the way that we respond is with community. Our unfortunately, like, our elected leaders, we want them to do everything that they possibly can, and we are working on a lot of policy, but we have to be real about this moment. It goes beyond our ability to regulate and enforce Minnesota state statute. I wish that wasn't the case, but I think that's where we're at.
Speaking of which, we are 2 days away for what has been, for lack of a better term, a general strike that has been called now. I think there's at least a dozen, maybe more unions have signed on to this. As many, if not more, community groups have also signed on to this. Give me your sense of how widespread this will be, and what is the sense of this in the community?
Yeah, so Friday is a day of truth and freedom. We're asking people not to shop, not to go to work, not to go to school if it's possible for them. I think that, like, I have there's an elder in our community. His name's Ricardo Levins Morales, and he always reminds us that we're part of a lineage. There have always been people like us who have stood up in times of crisis in our country, in times when oppression and oppressive systems have kind of crushed people. And there are many, many people before us who've engaged in these kinds of, tactics like general strike and being in the streets and protecting neighbors and forming community patrols where, these aren't new ideas or new tactics. And we're just like one in a long string of fighters for freedom and justice in our country. And so, we know that the idea of a general strike and boycotts, all kinds of different tactics have been employed by Americans of conscience in times of crisis. And so we're asking Minnesotans to participate. We have hundreds of organizations and unions, hundreds of businesses that are closing, and so we invite everyone to be a part of it. And I just, if there are people listening from Minneapolis in particular, there are community defense kind of formations in every corner of our city. Like I said, they murdered Renee Good in the street, and then they wanted us to go back inside. But what we have seen since then is tens of thousands of people organizing in their local communities. If you're not linked up with your local organization yet, go to Defend 612 on Instagram or the internet, and you can connect with your neighbors who are organizing there. And across the state, it's like, and across the country, really, like, neighbors just need to be coming together. That's how we answer this threat.
Is there any, obviously, number one job is to do what you're talking about. Is there anybody compiling any of these best practices for the sake of, I don't know if it's Lewiston, Maine is next, or Portland, or, Boston, or wherever it's going to be. But is there any resource that we should know about to point people to? Or, obviously, it's hard to be fighting and sort of recording it for other people to be fighting at the same time. But if that exists, I would love to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, fortunately for us, unfortunately for all of us, we are not the first or the last city to be in this position. And so, you know, we have been helped out immensely by community defense alignments in Chicago and Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., who have faced, you know, very similar situations to what Minneapolis is in before us. And so they've taught us a lot. You know, on that Defend the 612 website, there are resources for communities, sort of some like best practices, how to connect yourselves and organize yourselves into these, you know, community defense areas. And, you know, Protect Rogers Park is an organization in Chicago that has just been so generous and taught us a lot about how to respond to these times. And they have tons of resources on their websites. There are LA and Free DC is another kind of source of information for, you know, folks who are kind of looking and seeing and maybe anticipating ICE coming to them next. So that's another beautiful thing that's happening is like, you know, we're sharing information and sharing hopeful stories across the country between people who are standing up in this way. And, you know, and when the next city is invaded like this, we will be there to support them and to help share the things that we've learned so that we can, you know, continue to have a nimble response to this invasion.
All right. Well, we're gonna we will link to defend the 612.com so that folks can at least start off there. And is there anything else you think that we should know at this point? I mean, obviously, you know, we've dedicated a decent amount of time to sort of watching what's going on there because it's obviously both horrific and a bellwether and maybe also a foreshadowing of other places. But if there's anything else you think that we should know at this point, what might that be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anything new from what I said, but you know, these are dire times. This is a very serious moment for our country. We are being asked what we will accept as people, what we will accept as a country. And it's incredibly important that we all are very clear about the threat and also about the answer. And, you know, I can just say, like, these are such hard times for my community and for my city. And I've never been so proud to be from this community and this city and this state. And, you know, this is one of those moments that, like, your grandkids are going to be like, if you were in Minneapolis in January 2026, like, what were you doing? And, you know, and that moment may come for your city too. And we all have to have an answer for that. And so I just really appreciate you lifting up what's happening here, because it feels a little bit like, do people realize like how dire it is here? And so thank you so much for using your platform to invite me on and to just cover this story and for your advocacy. Thanks so much for having me.
Representative Aisha Gomez, representing District 62A in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Thanks so much for your time and the work you're doing there, and good luck. We're paying attention and hopefully, you know, can help in any way we can. But thank you. Thanks for what you're doing there, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break, head into the fun half. Wee. Honestly, it's just,
I think it's good.
It'll be wacky.
I have a fun clip about how AI is using up all the fresh water in the world. So
that's the fun part.
Well, we do. I mean, we have one or two fun clips. We carried over one from yesterday.
It's like gallows fun.
No, there's two or three fun. Well,
is there really? Do we have anything that's not gallows humor?
The last one is fun.
way at the end of the 32 clips that we have is the funny one.
You'll know what I'm referring to.
Oh, about how someone was wrong about
You got a
fascism.
mind for gold.
It's also about fascism being here and confirmed.
Yes.
So
the most hilarious thing we have is just how someone didn't see the fascism coming.
And how it's undeniable now.
Whoopsie. God.
So, for people that may want a little peek behind the curtain, the whole dynamic in the office is me trying to be positive about something, a piece of media that I liked, a movie, an athlete, and whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be Sam, it could be Brian, it could be Matt, telling me why I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And
what are you talking about?
To be enthusiastic, it's actually blah, 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 blah. And as I was telling my therapist yesterday, I need some more female energy in my life.
I legitimately felt guilty yesterday because I watched a little bit of your light diminish when we were talking about a particular musician, and
who was it?
Doesn't matter. I don't want to bring everybody in on it.
Okay.
But I legitimately thought about it last night.
John
with my
Mayer.
head on my pillow. I was like, who cares if you don't like him? Why do you have to say something?
You don't need to tell Emma that. Pretend you think he's a great blues guitarist.
Just so you know, it wore on me.
I'd like to think it's the purity of my spirit. I'm so red. See ya.
Folks, it's your support that makes the show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half where, there's eras where fun half is ironic and eras where fun half is real.
Watch Harry Emden.
And you just have to you have to sign up to be a member to find out which era we're in. Although
I can predict a lot of a certain kind of era.
It's not exactly an ironclad secret. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off of that fair trade co-op coffee. You can also get the Majority Report blend. We will. Matt, what's happening in Matt Leckian Media Universe?
Yeah, over on Left Reckoning on Tuesday, David Griscom and I had a couple of guests, Alex Burnell and Judith of A Jewish Voice for Peace, talking about James Tallarico, who I'm a fan of his natural political talent. He's a great communicator. And the problem is when you are able to message so well on, say, Christian nationalism or charter schools, it becomes clear when you're pulling certain punches on, say, the question of Israel and Palestine. So we went at length into his statement of what he believes on that subject, and it was not a very satisfactory document from my perspective and everybody on my shows. And so check that out if you're interested in that. I still would probably put him as getting my vote for the primary down there. But look, he's got a talent and he should use it to be a leader on these issues.
It's odd because he had shown he's done very empathetic speeches about Gaza, but it's like when it gets down to brass tacks about what he actually advocates for, the defensive weapons.
And you don't want to make the Adelson thing more salient. I am willing to believe it was about gambling things, but crypto and gambling. But look, people are going to have that question, and it is a fair one to ask if you're going to start saying, well, Hamas needs to be dismantled. Well, that's a call for end to a ceasefire then? Because how do you dismantle something like that? Or if you say, well, I support quote unquote defensive weapons, which he's not the first person to use that phrasing. But.
Well, it's just, we'll go into the fun half, but just a quick point on this. We need more national progressive Democrats to start talking about Israel's genocide in a way that matches the reality on the ground. I think that's a big, big problem. I said this months ago when I went on Pod Save America trying to make a plea for that, because this vacuum is being left. And so you can have all of these, Zionists smearing people because they don't use the correct language or saying they are advocating for this. You don't know can national progressive Democrats start talking about one democratic state? Can they start talking about Israel more realistically? I think that would help things. But anyway.
The problem is a lot of their colleagues have blood on their hands.
I think that's part of it, but enough. If we're having frickin' what's his name, David Plouffe, not naming Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer in his op-ed, but saying that Democrats should run against leadership if they want to win. I mean, why not throw some of your genocidal colleagues under the bus?
I would love that.
I mean, I will just say this too. I hope people understand that obviously, given the opportunity to vote for a Democrat over the Republican in Texas,
easy,
and the expectations of any Democrat representing Texas at this juncture in time is, would be on the low end of the spectrum of what we expect of a Democrat from there. It's not like representing New Jersey, Cory Booker, or New York, Chuck Schumer, Kristen Gillibrand. But it's important to maintain some markers as you're assessing these candidates. So,
yeah,
I mean, hopefully that doesn't have to be said, but of course it does.
Speaking of Cory Booker, maybe I do have an addition for the fun half. That it's not that fun, but we do
As a guy who is focusing so much of my effort on ending human suffering on the planet Earth.
God. It's so self-aggrandizing and so unearned.
I honestly I'm trying to think of what I would have to be doing in life to be able to say those words without laughing.
So generally,
in the middle of it.
I'm trying to
Like,
end
it's
human suffering
honestly-
on planet Earth, in a
it
relation
is-
dispute.
Honestly, I have said those words, but it has been totally sarcastically like, you really asking me to wash my dish? Do you understand that I am trying to save the planet?
Take the trash out right now.
Right.
Like it's literally the way you justify not getting off the couch and getting someone else to get you the popsicle in the fridge or whatever it is.
Right.
See you in the fun half.
Fun half.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7-8?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello? Is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single frickin' day. What's on your mind?
Sports.
We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Who libertarians? They're so stupid though. Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge Matt.
I'm positively quivering. I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
6, 5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
Call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like
Yeah.
everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the week being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Emma just literally got back saying that she couldn't replace the paper towels.
Couldn't condescend.
Because I had to get back in time.
Because she's out here trying to save the world.
Save democracy or whatever.
Brian, I'm a little busy, okay? Saving the world.
As a podcaster who is trying to end suffering.
I have a funny Instagram reel. This is from a comedian, Tony Statovci, Statovci. This got 2.3 million likes on Instagram, and you'll see why. It's about AI.
Yo, Google. Yeah, you. Why are tomatoes red?
Oh, yeah,
I got it.
They're blue.
You know, why are they red? Why are tomatoes red?
I need more water. Give me 1 second.
I could just ask him without the environmental damage.
Nah, I got it.
How do I turn you off? No, I don't even care anymore. Please stop
It's
killing
called
us.
lycopene. They're red because of a chemical
It doesn't
called
matter.
lycopene.
I love how he's smiling the whole time.
They're blue.
Yeah. AI does seem like an idiot who would smile all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, 1 second, I need more water.
All right, let's.
ChatGPT is programmed to give you a definitive answer even when it doesn't know, so it'll just lie.
Yeah.
But it always starts. That's a great question. I guess should we play the EU president, or might as well save that maybe for later in the week. I mean, we made the point. Carney made the point quite well.
Maybe
It's a rupture week.
maybe we go through Trump.
Let's start though with number one, because or actually let's start with number two. As of the other day, Trump had floated the idea of giving each person in Greenland $100,000 and then buying, I think, the entire island from Denmark. I don't know, it's not technically an island. For $600 billion. Incidentally, we don't have the money to extend the ACA subsidies. MMT aside, it's just that's the argument, right? We don't want to, I don't know what. But here are protests that were taking place in Greenland in response to the offer for $100,000 a person. And to be clear, these images, how many people are in Greenland?
21,000?
I mean, 21,000.
That's like no, there's 58,000 total. So if there's 21,000 at that protest, I mean, that's a third.
The total population is 58,000?
I wrote it down, yeah. 56,000, sorry.
56,000.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah.
Regardless, you're looking at probably close to 10% of the population.
This town is 20,000.
Okay, population of this town is 20,000. You're looking at
It's
at
a
least
third of the
10%.
country.
Yes. So this would be like wow, look at the size. Look at that. Wow, that's more than 10%. This would be like, I don't know, everyone in New York. I mean, this is like the Iraq war protest, maybe bigger relative as a proportion.
Well, okay, I'm bad at math, but 21,000, and then if it's a 56,000 person country, that's over a third of the country.
Yeah, but these
that's
aren't
population of the city.
That's the population of the city, not the protest.
Oh, I'm the idiot then. Okay, sorry.
Were you implying that you thought prior to that I was?
No.
Okay. But here is the former Greenland member of Parliament, Tilly Martin Nussen, explaining the perspective of Greenlanders. I don't know.
So I think Trump doesn't know about Greenlandic people. We don't really value cash and Kardashian lips and fake boobs and stuff like that very highly.
Excuse me?
Actually, you cannot even own land in Greenland. You can get an allotment for your house and then you own the house on top of the land. But Greenlanders don't believe in the land is for one person, is for everyone. It's a big miscalculation that he thinks that Greenlanders would be incited by cash or something like that. We're not. And even if you were to say like $100,000 per person or something like that, we wouldn't give up free health care. We wouldn't give up free education. We wouldn't give up being a part of Europe. We wouldn't give up on our sovereignty. We're a very sovereign people within the Kingdom of Denmark. We're autonomous right now. We do not want to be rich like the Americans are. See how greedy they are. They're even trying to shoot their friends or invade their friends just for greed. And we know that there's minerals and oils possibly in our underground, and that's worth so much more even than that. But even if we didn't have that, we would still not be bought. Everyone here knows about the Inuit in Alaska and all of the native tribes, Indians, American Indians who are there. Their land was taken from them and they haven't been treated that well in America. And we know that Trump is very much surrounding himself, at least with the white power people. And we are not white, as you can see. We are of color. And so we know our rights probably would be taken away. And we also know that we're very good as we are together with Denmark. As mentioned before, we have free healthcare, we have free study. Whatever you want to study, you can do that for free. And actually, government will give you money to study. So while you're studying, you're getting a grant from your government. So all of that we wouldn't trade for, like the welfare state. We wouldn't trade for anything in America.
But what if we give you $100,000 and then take it back in 4 years so that you get health care and also school?
Yeah.
We could actually have it back in 3 years, I think, if we...
You can invest that $100K in your own health care.
Exactly.
Americans are so stupid that you see the headline $100,000. I was like, whoa, look at that. That's actually a shabby offer.
I mean, honestly, like... It'll be $2,000 a month for healthcare.
Exactly.
And we'll have the money back in 4 years.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to start paying for school, too.
Right. And then we'll send ICE to chase you around.
Right. I mean, it's amazing to see. This is not getting talked enough about in the terms of indigenous, like the rights of indigenous people being trampled upon here. I mean, we should be talking about it in those terms. As I said yesterday, like the targeting of indigenous Americans by ICE right now is a deliberate part of the ethnic cleansing campaign. But, you know, the way that he's being so disrespectful and disregarding of the sovereignty of these native peoples says everything about the ideology of the so-called Don Roe doctrine. It is very retrograde, and it is very much like the way that Americans viewed conquest in the Western Hemisphere in the 1800s. And I'm so thrilled we're back there.
You know what I would love to see is Vice President J.D. Vance go to Greenland and debate this former member of parliament there as to why Greenlanders, Greenlandics should want America to buy them. Because I think it would be an incredible education for Americans as to, like, maybe there's a better way of doing this that we're doing in this country.
We give out, you get grants for education as opposed to indentured servitude and loans for the rest of your life.
I mean, it's a crime against humanity.
I mean, honestly, I think, like, what percent, like, I would imagine there is a massive percentage of Americans who would say, like, $100,000 per person? Why wouldn't you do this? And it would take about 5 minutes to find out why. It's because your operating expenses after 3 years, you're losing money.
Yeah.
Shabby. That's America in 2026. And it's not getting any better, folks.
And again, this is just a pivot point. This is just a sort of like a mile marker that I think history is going to look back upon when the rest of the world, Europe, our allies, basically said, I guess it's over.
When you can get from Paris to Chongqing in 8 hours on a high-speed rail. Yeah, it's going to be a different century than the one we got used to. And there's really no hope that we're going to turn this around in time. Living standards are going to continue to fall, I think, in this country.
It's going to be fun having electricity 4 days a week in this country.
I mean, hopefully electricity, though, is on at night, and then during the day, there's more time to read.
There you go.
I don't know.
Brian. Here's
fully support you.
Just testing you now.
Should we do some of this Trump stuff?
I think so.
At Davos? I mean, again, I largely because of Carney's speech, largely because of Ursula von der Leyen's, the president of EU's speech, Davos is going to be viewed as, and I don't think it all turned there, but this is the way that history, you need a mile marker. And I think, honestly, in 20 or 30 years, people are going to say Davos 2026 was the beginning of, or that's the end, or the middle of the end of the American hegemony. And they're going to play Carney's speech, and they're going to play von der Leyen's speech, and then they're going to go, and this is the guy who was president of the United States at the time. And everybody in the class is going to go,
Got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Here's a 7.
Doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called
Pause
me
it.
daddy.
Incidentally, just for the people in the future who are watching this, he means Greenland. He doesn't mean Iceland. He's been trying to buy Greenland, and he got confused and called it Iceland.
Yeah, to quote Shane Gillis, he's falling for Leif Erikson's 1,000-year-old boy.
Doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right? Last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being. Doing it, I'm helping.
Okay, let's just go roll right into number 5. I mean, it really doesn't matter what the order in which he said any of this stuff. It's literally.
You don't want to linger on that for a second? You don't want to linger on his kink about getting called daddy?
They called me daddy.
Very smart man called me.
Emmanuel
very smart
Macron
man.
spit on me.
Okay, called me daddy.
6 here. So we want a piece of ice for world protection.
What?
And they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else, and we could have kept that piece of land, and we didn't. So they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember. A strong and secure America means a strong NATO. And that's one reason why I'm working every day to ensure our military is very powerful. Our borders are very strong. And above all, our economy is strong because national security requires economic security and economic prosperity. And we have the greatest that we've ever had.
Yes, we'll play number 5. Here we go.
But all right,
Just to give you, we got to take it in totality.
okay, I'm
because-
sorry. He just
Get the
sounds
full
like a child.
context. You need to listen to it in the full context.
All I wanted was one piece of
You're
ice,
just
Mom.
cherry picking.
Here's the
cherry
math.
picking what I said.
We're going to graduate.
If you
level
don't
here.
give it to us, You'll find out what happens.
We're gonna be very upset and not invite you to our birthday.
There are windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place.
Don Quixote.
And they are losers. One thing I've noticed is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills. And yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them. But they don't use them themselves. They put up
Besides that, the Jiquan wind power base, which is the world's largest.
Oh, I was going to actually have you put the Google up on the screen so we could actually Google it in real time.
Well, someone community noted it. It's right there. China operates some of the world's largest wind.
Well, isn't it interesting, though, that somebody had to look that up and I didn't know it? Yeah.
He's just noticing
It's interesting.
things.
I didn't know it.
He's just noticing things aesthetically, and then foreign policy is following. Like,
It's a smart way to think about it.
I've never seen a wind farm in China,
Okay,
so
but let's assume that there were none there. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? If there were no wind farms in China, it'd be interesting that they sold so many windmills.
I've never seen a nuke in person. Do we have those here?
That's interesting.
You know what? It is all about the entire globe was being held hostage by Trump's lack of object permanence.
You know, it was my idea to bleach the insides of us to get rid of COVID. I just wanted to know that. That was my idea. Go ahead.
The more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing.
Causation.
China makes almost all of the windmills. And yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're
Good way of
smart.
looking at it.
China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them. But they don't use them themselves. They put
If that was true, there'd be Trump-branded windmills. But anyway.
up a couple of big wind farms, but they don't use them. They just put them up to show people what they could look like. They don't spin. They don't do anything. They use a thing called coal, mostly.
I mean, like honestly, like I think we're looking at what they're going to look at in 30 years, and just this is the way that they're going to teach the class in wherever it is, in China, in Germany, in I don't know, God willing, Palestine. And they're just going to go over and like, this is when everyone more or less agrees was the end of the era of U.S. hegemony. And it was sort of like a 1-2 punch. Europe and the rest of the world realized like, this has all just been BS anyways.
Yeah.
And
Close
then
up shop.
this joker comes up, and incidentally, he is delivering this speech in Davos. Switzerland. Okay, just curious. Go ahead.
And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. And then
Now, it's hard to understand who's laughing in Davos, Switzerland. One of the languages in Davos, Switzerland,
The majority language.
which incidentally, during World War II, was neutral.
Not involved.
I've never
Not
heard of
involved.
such a thing.
But
No
it's
skin in
quite,
that game.
it is quite possible that had Germany won that war, in Switzerland, they'd be speaking German because they were speaking German before that war.
Swiss German.
Swiss German,
Yeah.
the Lederhosen, I think it's like, maybe you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just, okay, I got it. Okay. Well, but a little bit of Japanese, probably.
I mean, like to go to Europe, just to zoom out for a second and be like, the United States, the wars we wage are across oceans. Like, for the most part, we have two friendly neighbors. We'll see if that changes on our north and southern border, and that has enabled the aggression of the United States. To go to Europe and be like, we saved you dumbasses from that war. Remember Hitler? That was pretty bad for you. You lost millions of people and we saved you. By the way, why don't you respect me? It's just like, I'm trying to save NATO by invading one of like a member country that we have an agreement with.
No one said your fascists have to be smart.
I mean, he's both not smart and now clearly so mentally, rapidly mentally declining. We're almost burying the lead here.
I mean, well, but I don't know.
Brain is like a sugar cube that you just dropped into tea and it's just dissolving.
Yeah, and it's also notable who wasn't there. Like, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Xi Jinping, not there. Claudia Sheinbaum, not there. The world is moving on without us. And Europe is like, I think that there's probably a lot of European leftists that are like taking a victory lap, probably not in, they're not happy about it, but just the idea that this reliance on the United States for their security and for to kind of outsource some of the economy to the U.S. powerhouse, as the driver of it, is not going to end well for them. They have signed their so much of their power over to the world's bully and the wrong side of the protection racket.
And to see it, Europe originated in the French Revolution, the rights of man, a lot of this stuff is a great legacy. And like you said, they trusted it to the Americans, and it's over now. They have to figure out a new way to protect what they should be proud of there, which is, not obviously colonialism, stuff like that, but these individual rights. And it's a brave new world out there.
And that's what Carney was imploring there, or at the very least kind of signaling. He should be, I think, not proud, but it's a good look for his leadership and stewardship of Canada that he got ahead out of this and made this deal with China, because I think European countries are going to follow soon as well.
Let's actually do number 9, since it's important. When people look back at Davos, they sent Besant, and they sent Lutnick, and they sent Trump, and people will look back at these round of speeches, and God willing, all of these people will be footnotes in history. 30. Well, they won't be footnotes, but they'll be history within a couple of years, let's hope. But it's hard to know whether with Trump, I think we're just looking at just sheer delusion and idiocy. I mean, there's outside of his sort of knack for criminality. I mean, we never spend any time talking about how he has sold literally dozens of pardons, how he has made billions of dollars in graft and whatnot in just over the course of a year as president. It's almost, we don't have the time to get to it. But guys like Lutnick and Besant, they are just, to the extent that they're intelligent, they understand where their bread is buttered and what kind of delusion they have to hang on to. And these are guys who money is the end all be all. There is no personal dignity. There is no sense of integrity. There is no ethics or perspective on the rest of the world. They will say whatever they need to say if they, in their mind, it puts another dollar in their pocket. And here is Howard Lutnick, surely not as deluded as Donald Trump, but saying just as deluded things because in service of Lutnick, putting another dollar in his pocket as Commerce Secretary.
Of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries. Why would you do that? Why would the United States of America, which has oil and natural gas, try to convert to all electricity? China does not have oil and natural gas. Electricity and electric cars make perfect sense to them. That is practical and logical.
This is crazy.
Well,
I mean, this is him literally doing the equivalent of, if we don't test for COVID, there is no COVID in America, but doing it from like a rich guy selling you on something perspective. Like, the future is coming, and he's essentially trying to get Europe to join in the suicide pact with America because he and his buddies want to get rich in the short time they have left on Earth.
I mean, first off, let's just put aside climate change. They obviously don't believe in it. They don't believe that it's that you have control over it in any way, you can influence it in any way, that it's a problem.
No, they don't care. They know exactly what's happening.
I mean, they just don't think it's that big of a deal because they're hoping to own parts of Greenland, which will increase in value as climate change becomes more real. They do make batteries in Europe. Of course they do. And also what Europe doesn't have is like huge oil deposits either. Right. And so it's just a question of
count on your buddy as the Americans,
who they're going to be subservient to.
Right.
And at one point, if they care about climate change, if they care about the future, electricity and batteries and electric vehicles is where they're going to head. And if you look at the leaps and bounds, I mean, talk about whistling past the graveyard. Dude, Canada has oil. And they just made a deal with China to bring in those electric vehicles and to essentially pave the way to start manufacturing those electric vehicles there and basically signing the death certificate for the American car manufacturing business.
Right.
It may be 5 years out, 10 years out, 15, 20 years out, but it is done.
But like this is where I say it's about this fortress capitalism, or it's about the grab bag administration, because they know that something's coming. They know that the concentration of wealth is unsustainable, that we're past Gilded Age levels of it. So he's admitting it there. The CHIPS Act would have been designed to create, when it was first, passed, to create battery manufacturing or incentivize that kind of manufacturing, whether it be chips or electric vehicle batteries here in the United States. And they tried to undo a lot of that because like that act looked towards the future. They have no concept of looking towards the future. They're trying to get rich immediately right now. So they're scolding Europe and trying to bully them to not do the same thing, because that's not the sector that lines their pockets.
They're delaying a change in rules that will create a game that they know they're going to lose. Because right now, the entrenched fossil fuel interests can make money one way. The thing that Trump said about China, that sell it to all the stupid people, and well, it turns out they build them there too, because they have their finger on the pulse of the future, the way that we did with automobiles 120 years ago. And so now it's all just a way to, like, what kind of dance do we do so we can keep making money in the meantime? But as far as battery stuff goes, like, it's not just like Tesla things in your garage or whatever. Pumped water storage is a feasible thing that China is doing. And you know why they're doing it? It's because the state can do it. It's less interesting to investors, which is why the West is fucking stupid about it. But these other countries are going to realize that, hey, there's a better way to do things this century than these charlatans like Lutnick have a way, and we're just going to close our ears to them.
And like, I mean, we saw what the state can do in America in the post-World War II reality. And like, China is in the 21st century using the power of the state to do something very similar. And
it was the Hoover Dam. It wasn't the John D. Rockefeller Dam, because the state needed to do it.
And like these guys are antithetical to the concept of public service in so many ways, and the corruption is the most naked element of it, but it's also the complete disregard for all of our futures. You know, the complete inability to or cutting off of looking towards the future because it enriches them in the short term in the present. They don't even care about their fucking kids. And I mean, I guess they're rich enough.
I mean, Lutnick's kids are going to do very well. Probably already done very well on the whole tariff thing.
But they are. I don't think that Lutnick is dumb enough to like really be ignorant of the fact that they are speedrunning the end of American like dominance in these areas.
I don't think Lutnick feels like his
because that's not his
fuck
duty.
America.
Right. Well, honestly, I think
like when they talk about
like,
the Epstein class, like I've heard some Democrats use this. I would prefer we just talk about like billionaires and things like that. But when they are talking about like a group of elites in this world that do not feel like they are beholden to like to nation states, as you have the fascists that are bringing in billionaires into the administration, drumming up nationalism amongst the population and making them feel like the border is something that needs to be protected because of the hordes of brown people that might be infecting their communities. They have no regard for nation states. They are cross-national actors that are there to make money in this time period. And American like futures be damned.
And I mean, this is why Democrats like Ro Khanna need to stop showing their face next to these people, because they aren't loyal to America. The America First thing is because they know it's a big con. Here's a tweet from Jason Calacanis, one of these people that Ro Khanna needs to cut off, who was freaking out about, admittedly, saying good things about this wealth tax thing, and they were freaking out. And Jason Calacanis says, I live in Texas where the season of the assets met with a vibrant response. And I could easily live and deploy capital in Tokyo, Abu Dhabi, and Singapore if America no longer wants an angel investor who backs 100+ startups a year. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. This idea that we're in
He's doing such a favor for you, though, man.
Look up year-over-year startups going back to the 70s. We are in a fucking dark age. Businesses are not starting up. We are in an age of monopoly, and all of these charlatans that work for these monopolies are there to create a false impression that we are actually in a golden age of innovation. We're not. We're in a golden age of these guys selling us out, monopolizing, while the rest of the world moves forward in modernization.
Do we have data on how many millionaires have left New York in the past 30 days? I mean, does anybody remember the polling that we saw from the Post and everybody talking like it's going to take 20 days and every millionaire is going to leave New York City? I will guarantee you anything that if anything, there are more millionaires today than there was on the day that Mamdani was elected in New York.
I mean, honestly, I'm checking now. I should be able to get a reservation at Carbone Stat. No, just kidding. It's still filled up. They must be still around. People don't know what.
I don't know what
that means.
either.
It's a famous. It's a hard restaurant to get into. Wealthy people go there.
Oh,
that's the joke.
Yeah, Carbone.
Still can't get in because they're all still in New York. The millionaires.
Oh well, okay.
Come on, Zoran, get on that.
He's probably taking his wife out there tonight.
Of course.
Champagne socialist.
Of course. I just love the idea of that dude just thinking like, America's going to lose me. America better rally around keeping me here.
Enjoy Abu Dhabi, you freak.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you be there now?
Bye. Guess you won't need to like fund a like messaging app. Like
yeah.
You made weblogs 20 years ago. Great job.
We all know the Republican Party is the party of the working man. And here is Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Besson, in Davos, Switzerland, interviewed on Fox Business News by, what is her name?
Maria Bartiromo.
Depraviato, or whatever it is.
Trump flipped a
Depraviato.
coin and said, either Janine gets this job or you do. And Maria, I feel like, got stuck back at
Sorry,
Fox Business.
Maria.
You don't get to be...
You're not a lawyer,
a
so
lawyer.
you can't be in charge of, persecuting people. Here is Scott Besson. We have tried to take as much context for this clip so as to try and understand where he's coming from And it may just be he has absolutely no clue about who 99.9% of Americans are.
The working man sometimes doesn't know, like, you'll see he has his corn cob pipe with him. But the working man sometimes doesn't know what, like, the median retiree is experiencing.
You and I have a mortgage. We can deduct the mortgage amount. Institutional investors can deduct the borrowing amount, but they can also expense any repairs and depreciation. So we think that it is a good idea to have them out of the market. We are going to give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, have bought 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out. And what's important here, you will hear.
Okay. I mean, I get what he's saying. He doesn't want the institutional investors. He doesn't want like the BlackRock coming in and buying 4,000 apartments or whatever it
Sounds
is.
like a communist.
And I get the loosey-goosey use of mom and pop, meaning like a mid-sized real estate holding company. But the idea that your parents, just for retirement, bought 5, 10, 12.
Your mom and pop.
homes.
I think that mom and pop has to be relegated
Like
to
it's not
certain industries.
like it's not a business. It's not a business. It's just
knick-knack
like something
store.
like
It's not literally your mom and pop.
The mom and pop hedge fund, right?
like what? Like there's such a you can't even conceive.
When people say mom and pop, it's like, yeah, I want to go to like the bait shop near where I fish.
Right.
Like
Mom and pop is if mom and pop owned a bodega for 50 years.
Yes.
And it's a mom and pop store.
It's not a mom and pop
if you
real
want it to
estate
be like,
flipping
but if you want it to
business.
be like loosey goosey with it and just sort of like casual mom and pop, doing like revenue of like, I don't know, $3 to $5 million annually or something. Mom and pop that way. You wouldn't look across the person and go, let's say your parents wanted to retire and so they're playing around.
If I knew somebody whose parents were flipping 10 houses, they would be the richest person I know.
I know.
For those just listening,
But I'm just
he's
doing
not
that
wearing
for
a
that's
monocle
my
either.
retirement fund. That's my retirement fund. I'll
Hobby
go
on the
to
side.
listen, this is the way we do it. We go to Vail for 2 weeks out of the year. And then we
What, am I
go
supposed to stay in a fucking hotel?
we go to Nevis for 2 weeks out of the year. And like I said, at the end of the day, we save a lot of money.
I have a certain kind of towel.
I'm trying to come up
You
with
understand?
I'm trying to come up with 10 other places where I have houses to round this out.
Mom and pop arms dealer, is that next? Like,
Oh, right. Well,
Yeah.
I know.
What do
Eric
you got?
Prince is always trying to rebrand Blackwater. Now it's mom and pop mercenaries.
You got Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I like to go there.
Mom and pop surveillance.
But why would we shoot over from Vail to Jackson Hole
Got a
just
spot
because
in Hawaii.
if you can't get a reservation at Vail for dinner, then you pop down to Jackson Hole with a helicopter. The mom and pop helicopter.
Mom and pop are doing really well lately.
Matt, your observation on Twitter should probably be said out
Oh,
loud.
yeah. Scott Besant is Cruella DeVille's gay best friend.
Thought that was apt.
I imagine him in the 101 Dalmatians cartoon style.
That puppy skin coat is fabulous, girl.
All right, we got to talk about this number 15. Getting back to Minnesota. This is sort of, I don't know. Should we start with 15 or
Honestly,
should we go to 13?
I would like
first?
17 is good because if we're talking like more productive clip, you might like this one.
Yes. No. Let's work our way there. I think.
Okay.
Let's start with 13, and then we'll take it to 15, and then maybe back to 14. Every day, we are seeing clips coming out of Minneapolis.
I can't confirm where exactly this is.
Oh, we don't know where this is?
It says Portland.
Oh, this is in Portland? Oh, okay.
There at the bottom.
Oh, all right.
But I don't know who this account is.
Yeah, I don't know this account either.
All right, let's hold off on this one for now. But it's a great example of of an attorney getting into ICE's face, and a clear example of ICE also being super aggressive with the attorney. But let's start with this. This is number 15, and we just spoke earlier in the program to Aisha Gomez, representative in the Minnesota House. And she made the point of like, look, we're going to need this is something that only the community can address. There are 600 Minneapolis police officers, and there's like close to 3,000 ICE invaders.
Yep.
And what is fascinating is to see how this cop, he is the chief of police of Brooklyn Park, which is like a suburb of Minneapolis.
Yeah, suburb on the west side.
And I imagine their police force is, I mean, 100, maybe. I have no idea how big it is, but it's certainly not 600. There is something intrinsic with ICE's mission and the way that they are structured that inevitably led to this. And I think it's hard for him to get that. But listen to this, what is going on in terms of just how random ICE is stopping people and racially profiling them.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Ruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
Okay. And there's two things that I take away from this. One is it's quite clear that this is a racial profiling hunt by these federal commandos.
Kavanaugh commandos.
But the other thing is that, and I don't know, I'm going to take him at, take his word at face value. There is something in the design of ICE, which has existed only for about 23 years. Something in the structure of ICE that allows this to happen.
Yep.
The point of abolishing ICE is not that you need no immigration system, or that you don't need an INS, which existed prior to ICE.
Well, if you're undocumented, you get to commit crimes here now.
The point is that there is something fundamental in the structure of ICE that allows them to have no accountability to the point where they can stop a off-duty cop who happens not to be white and have no consequences, and not just one, but over and over and over and over again over the course of 2 weeks, that it requires every police chief within, whatever radius it is, to get together and say publicly and show their faces publicly to complain about this. This is not like a one-off. This is a systemic problem, and it is fundamental to the structure of ICE.
It is crazy that they needed all of them to line up behind him. Take out whatever they were doing that day. We need you to be seen in this video.
But he said it there. He said what you're saying about, the defending of the homeland, defend our national security or defend our homeland security, what have you. That is what's fundamental in the structure of ICE and why it needs to be abolished, is that it's an outgrowth of the war on terror, and it's a surveillance state that has come home, and a militarized police force that has come home to Americans. I saw there was a clip or a photo of a woman with a bunch of armed ICE officers answering her door, and someone on Twitter, I'm not picking on them, but they said this is Minneapolis, not Fallujah. And a lot of folks pointed out it was wrong in Fallujah too. Yeah. But this is the concept of the imperial boomerang that Cesar wrote about. I was reading about it over the weekend. This is about fascism being what has been inflicted upon the world by imperial powers coming home to roost. That's it.
Let's play this clip of from The View. I mean, we talk about Exhibit A of why you need to abolish ICE. Call it replace ICE. You could call it whatever it is, with an entity that does not have the powers and the abilities and the lack of accountability and the as ICE is evident just in the fact that you have police departments begging ICE to stop what they're doing. We should not be living in the context of a country where you need to beg a paramilitary to stop doing what they're doing. We should have some accountability for it, but we don't. Here is Zohran Mamdani on The View, asked if he still supports abolishing ICE. My guess is probably more so today than he did whenever.
And the American public agrees with that, by the way.
I want to know where you come down on abolishing ICE and if you believe that ICE has any legitimate law enforcement role.
I am in support of abolishing ICE, and I'll tell you why. Because what we see is an entity that has no interest in fulfilling its stated reason to exist. We're seeing a government agency that is supposed to be enforcing some kind of immigration law, but instead what it's doing is terrorizing people, no matter their immigration status, no matter the facts of the law, no matter the facts of the case. And I'm tired of waking up every day and seeing a new image of someone being dragged out of a car, dragged out of their home, dragged out of their life. What we need to see is humanity. And there is a way to care about immigration in this city and in this country with a sense of humanity. What we're seeing from ICE is not it, and we have not seen that from them in a long, long time.
So I want to know where you come down.
This is he has become, and I said this too, we talked about it earlier in the show, the best spokesperson right now for left-wing ideas out there. Like, I mean, the fact when he was asked about, this is tangential, but I really think it's related. When he was asked about whether Israel has a right to exist, he talked about how Israel has the right to exist as a state of equal rights. The first really national Democrat with his kind of name recognition that spoke this way. And that is he gives people, he's not afraid to give people a rhetorical framework to advocate for these issues in a way that makes sense. And what he said there is exactly right. It's so simple, but we have national Democrats that avoid these simple answers. So even the wine mom view audience was kind of into the abolish ICE thing.
Somewhere, Adam Gentleson is crying. His think tank Searchlight. It was found. They wrote a huge plea to the Democrats. Don't say abolish ICE. Don't support this. Democrats, Republicans still have better polling on immigration enforcement in writ large. Of course, Joe Biden tried to head down that road, and it ended up being a disaster. Aside from that, also, it turns out like a major funder of that Searchlight.
What is that, a think tank?
Yes.
Well, you know what I'd like to
Federman
abolish?
runoff.
You know what I would like to abolish? Democratic messaging think tanks. What the hell are you for? What the hell are you for?
Getting that money.
I guess you get some great fees or whatever it is, but they have nothing to offer except bogging down the Democratic Party. You can change messaging on an issue by advocating for it, you cowards.
From David Dayen writes at The Prospect, the author of a controversial memo telling Democrats to abandon the slogan abolish ICE and instead focus on reform and retraining is a former Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection official who for the last 7 months has worked for West Exec Advisors, a secretive Washington, D.C. shadow lobbyist that counts as clients major government contractors in the defense and surveillance industry. In an interview with The Prospect, Blas Nunes Neto would not say who his clients are at West Advisors, where he's a senior advisor, only that he has consulted in recent years on immigration, customs, and trade. He said casting his memo as serving the interests of those clients would be a little disingenuous, while again declining to say who those clients are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say real quickly, people in that line of work don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to being disingenuous or not.
Who founded West Exec? Do you know?
I don't know who that was.
Antony Blinken, who just committed genocide in Gaza.
Well, you should also know the lead architect of President Joe Biden's border strategy, this is from a piece at that time, is not Vice President Kamala Harris. Despite persistent Republican claims to the contrary, that role belongs to a bookish, little-known policy advisor named Blas Nunes Neto. Engineered Biden's pivot toward tougher border enforcement and sweeping restrictions on asylum, moves that have helped slash illegal crossings by nearly 80% since December.
Wait, so what is Gentelson's link to that?
Searchlight is Gentleson.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Oh, so that's separate. Okay.
Different guy at Searchlight, right?
Different guy at Searchlight.
Also, Trey Easton, who's the VP at Searchlight, doesn't put Gentleson in his Twitter bio, and yeah.
I just want to say, like, maybe we shouldn't listen to the guy that worked for John Federman and the firm,
unrepentant about it,
and the firm also that just helped commit genocide and led Biden's disastrous foreign policy that was a big reason why Kamala lost the election.
The most damning thing about Gentleson, well, maybe it's not the most damning, but the one that I think is sort of the most telling is he writes his tell-all about Federman.
Yeah.
And he does so ostensibly because he's concerned for him and concerned that he might get into another accident and hurt other people. Yet he wrote that piece 6 months after the first accident. Yeah. Like, the time to write that piece, if you're concerned about Federman getting into another accident, would be like 2 weeks after a week after.
Felix Biederman at Chapo, when that piece came out in New York Mag, John Federman insists he is in good health, but staffers past and present say they no longer recognize the man they once knew. Felix Biederman points out, Lyle Johnson was repeating IDF press releases and claiming that 90% of America was basically as right-wing as his idiot boss when he was in Fetterman's office. He knew Fetterman was completely fried, but still adopted all of his new positions out of careerist instinct.
Totally. It guy's a total mercenary. It's gross.
And gets a little Venmo from parents, if Twitter can be believed.
Well, he's trying to strike out on his own. I mean, at least give him some
failure
credit
to
for
launch.
independence. So here we are. We are days away. Supposedly, there's going to be a vote in the House tomorrow on the remaining tranche of agencies that will get funding. We're not going to see one big omnibus bill. And it's unclear, well, it's not that unclear what the Senate's going to do, what Senate Democrats are going to do. They have not been pressured enough, in my mind. But it is stunning that there would be any vote on the continuing resolution to fund DHS. Now, let's be clear. If Democrats didn't vote for the DHS tranche of funding, now in the House, it's all being combined together. If Democrats said we're going to filibuster in the Senate, then maybe they could get it broken up. In the last government shutdown, DHS still had funding. They have a huge slush fund. Nothing is going to stop them from doing it. The question is this an opportunity for the Democratic Party to signal to Americans, we're against this. We're against this in such a way that we don't want to pay for it. Not just we're against it, not just we won't pay for it, but we're against it. And it appears that the Democratic Party is not going to do that. Now, understand the way that this budgeting works. ICE got a one-time injection of approximately $100 billion last year, in addition to its operating budget going up by the same sort of percentage, I don't know what it is, that everything goes up to maintain its operations. This time around, that one-time injection's not there, but they want to even raise, based on the operating budget, by an extra $10 billion. So it's ridiculous. Here is Pramila Jayapal talking about that.
Congressman, real quick, there's some confusion over whether or not ICE is going to receive a funding increase in the DHS appropriations bill or if it's a flat line. Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, look, it depends on how you think about this, but to me it's an increase. The reason that people are saying it isn't, that it's actually a decrease, is because if you remember the continuing resolution last year in March, where most of us in the House voted against it, but the Senate passed it. That had an anomaly, a funding amount, a one-time funding amount that was $485 million. And that amount, if you add it into the base year funding, and then you look at this year, there is a $115 million decrease, but that was one-time anomaly funding. It's part of the reason I didn't vote for that CR, because it wasn't a continuing resolution that kept the funding levels the same. It actually increased the funding levels. So if you look at year to year, this is an increase. If you add in that anomaly one-time funding, it's a slight decrease. But to me, the core thing here is that there really are no guardrails, no accountability to stop ICE and CBP from killing people, from violating people's constitutional rights, from ensuring that they actually investigate officers who do these kinds of things. None of that is in here, and so I can't vote for it. I can't be complicit in continuing to allow these ICE and CBP agents to violate the constitutional rights of people across this country, including U.S. citizens.
She explained it exactly right there. And you see that split in the House and with the Senate, too, where there's absolutely zero willingness to fight on this issue. Just this quick quote, I know it's a little tangential, but I want to point out in terms of House fighters, this is a separate topic, but it's related due to, like, you know, Congress reasserting its authority. AOC was quoted in Notice. I just sent this. It's just a screenshot about the concept of rescissions, how Trump has taken money that was appropriated by Congress and has decided either to cut it or not spend it or allocate it separately. She says, in order for us to correct the abuses that are happening now, we have to act the same in similar capacities that Trump has given himself. The Republican majority has decided, for example, that rescissions are a tool they want to use. And so I don't think that we serve anybody, and I especially don't think we put things on the right course by setting a precedent that one party can have greater power when they are in the majority. Where she's basically saying, like, we at the very least have to threaten that when we get back in power, potentially, we might use the exact same tactics, baby. And I don't care.
I don't think it should be a threat. I mean, time and time again over the course of the past 20 years, just for instance, the use of blue slips. In the Senate Judiciary Committee, when a president nominates a federal judge, lifetime appointment from a specific state, those two senators of that state, the tradition was that they hand in their blue slip to say, proceed, and you can go ahead and vote on the nomination. Doesn't matter if you were in the minority or the majority party. It's an old Senate tradition. When the Democrats were out of power, the Republicans were in power. The Republicans, during the first Trump term, decided they're no longer going to recognize that tradition. All well and good. I don't have a problem, frankly, with that tradition being abolished. But the Democrats were bragging about how when they get back into power, they're going to recognize that tradition. In other words, they've just been, they have just crapped all over us, but we're going to restore the institutional processes that the American public wants.
Compare this statement by AOC to what we played yesterday of Chuck Schumer interjecting a question that would have been critical of the Republicans, of Lutnick, for their scrapping or their attacks on the CHIPS Act. Interjecting to say, there's no time for that. This is a day for bipartisanship. Contrast that with, well, one, Jayapal being absolutely correct on the facts here and why they need to hold the line, but AOC in particular, obviously relevant for New York, that no, bipartisanship, we're going to do rescissions when we get in office, motherfucker.
I mean, the idea that Chuck Schumer is not out there, and he can't because he's so desperate to pass the ICE budget, but the idea that he's not out there tying the way that that ICE has invaded this area. You've got police chiefs saying that they are racially profiling our officers. Like, I don't how much of a silver platter do you need to be handed? And the idea that he's not out there tying this stuff to every Republican member of the Senate and the House, because they could stop this today. They don't have to vote for the ICE budget. They don't have to approve the DHS budget. Schumer could be tying them, every one of them who are running for re-election in the fall, to what is happening in Minnesota right now. And he's refusing to do it. He's refusing to do it. And he's just thinking like, I'm going to retain the leadership if we flip the Senate.
You're thinking that?
Well, in the event that the Senate is flipped, it is only because you weren't pumping the brakes as hard as you desperately want to. You were forced into the first government shutdown, which completely changed, incidentally, the narrative. It wasn't just Charlie Kirk got murdered, and so the country decided like Trump was bad. It was the government shutdown. You can see the change in the polling.
Is that what they think?
Of course.
No one.
Of course. Chuck Schumer.
Motivated reasoning.
Chuck Schumer thinks the less he does, the better off everybody is. If the American public is just not aware that Democrats exist, it's going to be better.
Yeah, things seem like they're doing.
It's a
going
real
really well.
problem because it's like you have a guy who's like the watchman of a property and the property is on fire, but it's like, if I don't notice this, it's not really my fault. And it is. This entire period of the last 8 years, since 2016, has been Chuck Schumer in that run up to that election saying for every person we lose in white collar America or blue collar America, we'll gain 2 in the suburbs. Well, you've mission accomplished. White people who make 100,000 now support the Democrats, and the ones who don't support the Republicans. Mission fucking accomplished. And he's still there. And all the senators are sitting there like he can be partnered with because I guess it keeps the money. Because that's really what it is about. This isn't about votes. This is about who's on Chuck Schumer's Rolodex and how he can bring money into the party. Same with Hakeem Jeffries.
And the constituency they want to cultivate. I mean, they have no respect for he does at this point, no respect for the non college educated voter at a certain point. And they have worked backwards from their inability to do anything to think that the voter is incapable of anything more than supporting a psychotic person like Donald Trump, because it absolves them of the responsibility.
And also what he wants, I mean, he told the New York Times what his main objective was, is to keep the Democratic Party pro-Israel. And as long as he's leader, it's going to be.
He failed at that, incidentally.
Yeah.
Failed with the base.
He said it's to keep the left
pro-Israel.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, in terms of Congress, bills are still getting through that send more money out there.
All right, let's read some IMs and get out of here. There's still a lot of footage here.
I know.
Rural lefty. Today's ICE and many of its current leadership come from the U.S. Border Patrol, says former senior Border Patrol agent Jen Budd. Budd was on the January 15th show of Francesca Fiorentini's The Bituation Room. Budd resigned from the Border Patrol in 2001 due to rampant corruption and brutality, and since her resignation has been an immigrants' rights activist. Budd's Substack is called Borderland Talk. Between 2001 and 2009 under Bush Jr., the number of Border Patrol agents rose from 9,800 to more than 20,000.
One structural thing I would just say is INS was under Department of Justice, and then we created the Department of Homeland
That's the
Security.
big difference there, is that when you are operating under the Department of Justice, there is a built-in accountability mechanism. You are part of law enforcement.
Right.
As opposed to part of the national security state.
Exactly.
And
they call themselves law enforcement, but that's not what it is.
No, they pretend now, but this is national, this is counterterrorism,
Yep.
Whatever it is. They're in some type of netherworld. And being under the Department of Justice provided a different accountability structure and a different set of restrictions and guardrails. You would never think of like, oh, we don't need to listen to this judge.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to worry about this. You're like, we're sending, it doesn't matter. We got DOJ lawyers going in trying to argue a case about whatever, and we just did F all. It doesn't matter. Well, it would matter if your boss was accountable to the boss of that attorney who's got to go into the courtroom.
Yep.
This is just like basic sort of like corporate structure, bureaucratic structure. Jordy, PhD. Gentleson also has his own version of the Baileys. Yes, I've seen that. Carl Dem Sock. At this point, with all his head fakes in the Middle East, I think him saying he rules out military in Greenland makes it more likely to actually happen soon. Tomoff Link, happy Friends Day Wednesday, folks. Everyone in Europe who is now a hardcore Gaullist, LOL. This might be the thing that helps with the European Defense Union get off the ground. It's true that Europe needs to start thinking for itself a bit more in defense matters. Whether we need to spend the $1,000 quadrillion that many people are trying to have us spend is another matter. The U.S. ambassador to Poland was almost upset that the EU's 90 billion euro loan for weapons for Ukraine will likely exclude U.S. manufacturers.
Yeah.
You repeatedly try to come away with ways to harm some of your closest friends, and suddenly they're not willing to buy stuff from you.
That was the left-wing critique of NATO that I think, was not that well received when we were talking about that with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but the chickens have come home to roost.
Emma, what do you put on your rider when you're on CNN or MSNBC?
Rider?
You can ask for things.
I don't get paid. I mean, they'll do my makeup a little bit, and I say, "Could I have a water, please?"
You don't get a fruit tray or anything?
No, I don't. Sometimes I'll say, could I have a coffee? Whoa.
Kowalski from Nebraska. Some analysts I follow believe the reason Canada and China made their trade deal is because it will give massive amount of leverage in the NAFTA negotiations this summer for the 5-year review, as well as undermine Trump's election prospects in the midterm. Mexico doesn't need more leverage since they have Trump over a barrel. I'm going to place a bet. I think we're going to see the 25th Amendment invoked by J.D. Vance this year. That's sort of what I was calling, right? I mean, I didn't say the 25th Amendment, but I said Trump is going to be out for a health reason.
Vance would call it over Trump? Okay.
This is where Kowalski, I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think he's going to step down. In fact, I think it's going to be invoked within the next 3 months. I don't think Congress has the guts, and I think Vance knows his future prospects are screwed, and this is his last shot to be president. Honestly, if you remove Trump, you probably would see an economic revival almost overnight.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing about if Trump dies.
The stock market would just
roar.
Well, I mean, that's
just the irrational exuberance.
I know it was a different time, but I was just talking about this with my husband last night. It just feels a little bit like fan fiction. Like I know we want Trump's ego is not going to let him go. He's not going to voluntarily do this.
Yeah, but his heart will.
That's the one thing. But
if
also,
he goes out, yeah.
I mean, the amount of stuff they pump into this dude, the health care that is available to him, he can live for as long as he wants, even being as disgusting and piggish as he is.
Sometimes Melania is thinking sometimes we mistakenly switched the motor coolant with the Alzheimer's drug.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Visine in the Diet Coke.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Why is it blue?
Isn't that insane about Visine? Yeah. I just found that out.
Really?
And it's I can't.
Wait, what happens?
Visine is incredibly poisonous. Apparently, if you drink a bottle of Visine, it would kill someone Brian's size.
Isn't that just? Wait.
I mean, if it's a Brian size and not like
it's a big guy. I'm saying
no. I mean,
Brian's I'm the same height as Matt. I know what you're saying.
No.
Either me or Randy.
Brian
Fine,
size long.
Some guy
That's Stavros' bit about where he says when they call me big guy, he's like, I'm 5'6", so I know what I'm
Brian's
getting at.
What are you, 6'2"?
Yes.
So is
what
Matt.
are you 6'2" too?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean,
a little different.
Matt's been trying to bulk up.
Matt can go to the gym. Brian's paralyzed. Brian can't go to the gym.
The point being, either one of you will be taken down by an entire bottle of Visine.
I think that's more my point. Is you could just say a human, say a Brian-sized lung.
Well, I'm not talking like a little kid.
No, I got it.
We must have Visine around the house. It's not like there's a safety lid on it. But the thing with coolant is it's sweet. So they put it in pudding, and that's how you kill your husband.
Oh, like antifreeze.
Or your that?
Antifreeze.
Antifreeze. That's what I meant. Coolant. Yeah. Anyways,
Your husband, not your wife.
your husband, your wife.
I'll tell you what.
But it's a husband's fault for it, apparently, more than what.
Mysterious deaths for men before divorce was liberalized, and turns out has some outcomes positive for men.
Stereotypically, men kill their wives in much more obvious ways than women.
Yeah,
Smarter
a lot less crafty about it.
Anyways,
heard a blues song.
Kowalski says, I think Vance knows his future prospects. If you remove Trump, you'd probably see an economic revival. The Czech Republic and Hungary are actually two of the world leaders in battery technology. In fact, it's kind of a race between them and China. So this guy is just a complete moron. Indeed. All right, 5 more. Jay Tingle Today, Trump finally forgot the name Greenland and went on a rant about Iceland, surprised it took so long. Carney is describing the frustration of Western nations now being treated like the nations in the global South. Ron Lauder is a cosmetics heir, not an executive. His older, competent brother, Victor, took over operations from their mother. Ron is, to put it politely, a bum. He even ran for mayor of New York City once. Someone is manipulating Lauder in order to manipulate Trump on the Greenland matter. I wonder if that's true. That's very possible. Iowa Ryan. I hope you dunk on Kristen Sinema in the fun half. What was that for getting Molly from her security guard and breaking up?
She's having she's unmarried and she had an affair with her bodyguard who was married. I feel like this is, who cares? I don't know.
Everything else she's done professionally is far worse.
Exactly. Yeah. Making her bodyguard smuggle Molly is like,
I mean,
Liz Warren handled that for us already.
Yeah. Forgot about that. What was that, Pasovic?
I'm talking about just the speech she just
she gave.
Oh,
last
no.
week.
Where she dressed her down.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But wasn't there a rumor that, wasn't there a right-wing provocateur that said Elizabeth Warren was having an affair with her bodyguard? Was that not like a...
I don't remember this.
Oh, that's not what I was referring
Okay,
to.
never mind. It was totally made up. But...
Whistler, I wonder if Trump's Greenland obsession could be driven by the sycophants around him. For instance, if Vance thinking of being president eventually, he can let Trump do this dirty work before taking the reins. I think all of that stuff is on the table.
If Vance was mainly concerned with being president, he would tell Trump to stop doing all this dumb bullshit because it's making him look bad.
It was Jacob Wool. Yes. Held a press conference outside of Warren's house.
That guy's in jail now.
Okay.
He and that other dude, what was the older guy named Jack? I got into an argument with that guy years and years ago on MSNBC about maybe they got pardoned, but they got arrested for multiple different schemes, I think.
For journalism. Jack Berkman.
Yeah.
Yes, Jack Berkman. At Singles Park. Hey, MR Crew, someone I work with shared the following. A friend's 17-year-old just graduated basic training in the Marines and stated how proud and worried they are because orders are being discussed regarding deploying to Venezuela this week.
Yes, I'm sorry. Jacob Wool was claimed that a 7-year-old Elizabeth Warren was having an affair with a 24-year-old sex worker and Marine.
And Marine.
Mm-hmm.
See, we need to pay our troops more.
It's incredibly realistic.
There's no reason the troops should have to sell their bodies to Liz Warren.
I feel like some Liz Warren staffer planted that.
Hey, Sam, Dokapild. My DSA is considering starting a hotline for ICE. Are there resources your guests can suggest on responding to ICE? Good examples to emulate. Well, one, I would go to that Defend 612. There's a vertical of resources. I would also go to ICE.
RRT.com.
RRT. And you can look, there's a huge list of immigrant defense of groups across the country. I think it's worth checking out. I haven't seen, I don't know off the top of my head if it's there, but I would look for one in Charlotte. They did a great job there in defeating ICE, but I would also look at the Chicago ones and LA. I mean, there's plenty of resources in that regard. And don't be afraid. I'm sure they would talk to you or, send them an email or whatever it is. New Jersey mailman. Emma is out here waiting for the world to change. Remember that song, I'm Old. Majority Report Peace Prize. We all get suspicious when Air Force One turns around mid-flight, but in our gambling, scammer, crypto economy, if the betting markets don't show suspicious insider trading on his death, it almost certainly didn't happen. I wonder, I would keep an eye on there's got to be a 25th Amendment one, right? All right, 3 more. Oops, coconut. This clip from Greenland shows that all Americans are such little piggies. I mean, it's
pay pigs. That's what we are.
Sam, some of us are big piggies.
A country of pay pigs with some big piggies over here. Taken down by a Visine bottle.
Yeah. It might take probably like the family pack of Visine to take out Brian, but.
A Costco trip, yeah.
Sam's on Amazon right now.
Jack
ketchup-sized Visine bottle.
Jack from Queens. I finally understand the concept of American century of humiliation. And the final I am of the day. Kaju beetle. I wanted to put the SAVE Act on everyone's radar. It's dangerous law that could make it impossible for millions to vote, including seniors, people of color, women, and students. It would also make it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to register people to vote. Want to double flag my last message. We'll look into the SAVE Act. I mean, I've read a little bit about it. There's a lot of stuff that's going to become clearer and clearer in terms of, you know, they're not going to make it easy to vote if they're going to make it easy to have elections this year. That's for sure. Folks, that's it for us today. Matt, Ryan, Emma, great job today. Folks, see you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie.